Welcome to Spotlight Sessions, where we shine
What's
a light
your story?
on incredible. What does accessibility mean to you?
What's your mission? Welcome all to accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, where we shine a light on incredible individuals and organizations and the work that they do. I am your host, Josh Basil. I'm a C4-5 quadriplegic, paralyzed below my shoulders. I'm a power wheelchair user. I'm the community relations manager at accessiBe and a passionate disability rights advocate and trial attorney focused on breaking down barriers to access and inclusion for people with disabilities. Today, on accessiBe's Spotlight Sessions, we're joined by Federico Francioni and the head of digital ecosystem at Meta. Welcome, Federico.
Hey, hello there. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited about this program today and to learn so much from you and to share the awesomeness that you're all about. So, Federico, let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
My name is Federico Francioni, and for everyone there, you can call me Fede if you ever catch me in the metaverse or wherever in the digital space on the internet. I'm the head of the digital ecosystem at Meta, so it means I work on our internal products, tools, and surface. So my goal is literally the one of creating the best possible employee experience for all the people that we have at Meta globally.
That is a big shoes to fill. So like what does your day-to-day look like to even try to do that?
It's a ton of very different things. It's a combination of meeting with business and engineering function to define, design, ideate these new experiments that we want to run for our employee. Really focusing on, what are we missing? What can be improved? What new features should we launch in for our employees globally? And then it's a lot of combining that with the strategy aspect of finding the best way to release those capabilities, and at the same time making sure that we follow the execution of those. So whenever as you can imagine, everything is very agile. So as a digital product management is on the outside, it's also on the inside, right? So the same approach of making sure that you follow along and have continuous iteration to make our products and tools better. It's exactly the same.
So how big is Meta right now? How many employees do you guys?
We got a little bit around, let's say around the 80,000 globally. 80,000, yeah.
Incredible. And then, so are you, to kind of shake it up, the ecosystem up, do you work through kind of the employment resource groups? Do you like tell me like kind of like the day to day of like who do you go to? How do you like manage that big of an ecosystem?
It's a combination. It doesn't change much from the typical people process technology, right? So there is first of all, the combination of people is the first one, and I would say that there is the holy triangle. I don't know if you can call it like that, but the combination of first of all, our users. Our employees are definitely my boss. So if you ask me who's my boss, I wouldn't answer like Mark, but I'll probably answer our employees because they are my boss. So that's one component. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of function that are conducting researches about the employee, right? And making sure that we do capture what's their experience and if there are people dedicated to that, and there's also like surveys. So there is a way of always getting like a pulse of how we're doing internally. The other two components of the triangle will be definitely all the folks on the business side of HR, because HR or people, that's how it's called at Meta, doesn't change much from any other big company, especially, right? So you might have all the people sitting on the benefit side, you have people sitting on the compensation, you got people sitting on the contingent worker, because still contingent workers are a big part of it. So all the typical function that you will find in any other big company are there. So that's a huge part of making sure that you can talk with all of your counterparts, right? And that's it on the business side. And then finally, not surprisingly, Meta is an engineering company. So there is our best friend are the engineers that then can make these products and this tool a reality. So the other part of the day is connecting with them and working on the execution and the nurturing of this product. Now, they are all three things they can do separately. But as I always say, the real innovation happens when you make them talk in front of a pizza or whatever you prefer. Because if you don't really connect what your employees are saying with where the business wants to go and what technology things should be enabled, then you don't get anything right. So the right cocktail is to combine them together, and that's part of my job basically.
And as a member of the disability community, I always hear the word intersectionalities, and I'm hearing that from you, like all the different connections of all the different parts of Meta as an organization. There's intersections and maximizing those, and like on your personal website, you have yourself as a design egist. Like, all right, so I feel like that's what. Tell me more about that. What that entails.
That's part. Let's call it my creativity. But like I was thinking of a little bit of my personal branding a few years ago, and I was looking at myself and said, okay, what I'm really capable of doing. What does my life look like? What is the value that I bring to a company? Then it came to mind that like, because of intersectionality, like what you said, like the intersection of multiple people and being a hybrid and being a telecommunication engineer by trade that has worked in experience design for a long time, I thought, well, that is my value. I basically combine the aspect of someone that has been doing digital strategy, so knows how to talk to the business and technology, with someone that has also creative part of his mind that is focused on, okay, how can we better serve those people and do it in a way that nobody has ever tried before? Because that's a typical designer. So I combine the word designer and strategist in a way that nobody has ever done before. I was checking on Google. Has everyone ever claimed this word? And nobody did it. I actually should before it's too late. But so I didn't really have it apart from my website. But I came out with this crazy word that is called Designegist, and well, I kind of like it.
Oh, I love the word. It's so creative, and it's the strategy behind creativity just allows you to make real change. Like you're shaking up the game. And I know for me, after my spinal cord injury, um, I've always felt that I've had some superpowers because of my perspective. It allowed me to always focus on what I could do rather than dwell on what I could not. And like by doing that, it always made me feel like I wasn't going towards an uphill battle, and it felt good to like know I had some control of my life, even though I am paralyzed below my shoulders. That's a reality. But for you, I know I kind of want to dive more into kind of what your superpowers are and kind of how you bring together people to create kind of your own superpower.
I will have to go back to the fact that I want to make sure that people can come together to really offer their best. A lot of the time, especially even when you're thinking about like minorities or even all the issues about like inclusion, diversity, and what really designing for inclusion really means, at least for me, is the fact that you want to make sure that you're hearing everyone at the table, right? That the concept in itself to me is very simple. So that is one of, I think, the superpower that I'm trying to use. I'm trying to make sure that I can hear the voice of the people and what are their concerns. Because most of the time, where you see some resistance, if you can get something done, it's not because people don't want to. Nobody has a vested interest in not moving a company, especially if it's a business, right? It's just because there's something that scares them or something that blocks them, right? In a way or another. And the only way, the best way that I know of removing those blocks is to talk and understand where are they coming from, what are the fears, or what are the limitations that that individual has that doesn't allow him or her, they, to move forward. So my superpower is really making sure that as you make sure that you bring those different perspectives around, you are naturally removing those limits. Because it might sound like an oversimplification, but really it's not. When you create from abundance and you have those multiple people coming at the table with you, telling, hey, this is how I see it, this is my perspective, this is my problem, you're automatically giving data points observation and hence insight to the other 2, 3, 4, 5 parts that are sitting at the table with you. And that is game changing. I find it that still, no matter what company size is, right? Because I've been working years and years in consulting, so I've seen different industry, different sizes. Worked at Microsoft before Meta. So there is always this new muscle that now companies are building around design thinking and being more open, design for inclusion, where we want people creating a constructive challenge, making sure that they do go in front of this table and they say things like they are. They say, hey, this is why we can do it, or like this is where we need to improve. So to me, facilitating the conversation in a way that is also as neutral as possible, because you don't want it to get biased by a certain technology or by a certain company organization, right? You have to stay neutral. That's the best way to make sure that all the voices are heard and you get real innovation.
With what you just said there, like, so how do you create that conversation? Is it obviously is it like everyone might be a little bit different, but like do you find that surveys are best, or just doing an open conversation? Like how do companies speak to their employees like that?
The way that I've been doing that, like in the last few years, is that you always start and trying to get as many data points as you can, right? So the quantitative aspect of that, it's always useful. You don't always have the luxury of doing it, or maybe it's an area in which you don't have those data. So what you have to do is that you have to rely on the people that can be the liaison for that. So it means that you can always speak to like your final user. That comes for free almost, right? You will always have people from the business side that know what is going on in their area and know where the strategy is, where they want to be. And you will always have people, again, from the technology side that are thinking, okay, if I'm practically implementing this solution, this is what I need, right? So this is more of the qualitative part that you have to combine. I think the qualitative has a lot, because the data are most of the time, yes, are not debatable, and you can see mostly where the fire is, because the data will always point you inequivocably towards where the fire is. But the qualitative aspect will let you understand, okay, is the fire really there, or why are we trying to solve that fire? Is that the fire that we need to extinguish first, or there is something else, right? So that approach that combines, again, a lot of design thinking mentality is literally the qualitative part that you add on top of the quant to make sure that you really solve for those problems. Because a lot of time, and there's plenty of example. If you're curious, I invite everyone to dig deeper into this. There is this 5 why exercise that is basically going to the root cause of why something is bothering us or why something is blocking us. And you basically say, by asking yourself why 5 times, you will probably get to the root cause of them, and it's completely different from what you thought it was in the first round.
Dude, I love that. I feel like my 5-year-old daughter, with all of her whys, has been training me for this moment and to be better in my business world. So I love this. And so as a design egist, like, why is it so important to include disability within any business strategy?
Because you want to design to be for all. You want it to be inclusive. And if you're already starting by not including people into the equation, that you're not solving the equation. That's as simple as that. And again, to my point earlier, you want to bring as many perspectives to the table as you can. So especially when it comes to products and being accessible, being inclusive, if you're already saying, for example, that percentage of people were not including, it's not a good start. You're already starting with like 75% of the population, and I think it's a flaw by design. Like you're not being really inclusive.
You know, one fourth of the U.S. population, at least in adults, are defined as people with disabilities. That's a huge number, and it's a huge number of the workforce. A lot of times, businesses don't even recognize how many people with disabilities they have within their ranks because of self-disclosure issues, and people sometimes think of disability as a weakness, but I always think of it as a strength, because it is you. It's actually giving you a unique ability to see the world, experience the world, and know know things that other people don't know. So you can bring so much to the table, and your voice can be that much more powerful within your business, within as a customer, and all the above. And um, I'm very curious. Like, I know you've been doing this for a while, and you've I can't believe you're the head of digital ecosystem at Meta. It's very impressive to be able to rise to that ability. But like, what are some of your most proudest accomplishments over the years, and even at Meta as well?
I would say can't speak much about like specifically what some of the things that we of course release like internally, but I can say that I've been working during the COVID time a lot on what's going to be the experience for people going back to the office, and I'm definitely proud of I've been approaching them to be very inclusive and on from an inclusion perspective, and even at the global level in terms of like make sure that it's not just focusing on like some regions over others. So that was a thing that made me really proud, even though I can't share more than that. One of the things that I did in my recent past though was one of my previous employer. I was working on launching a new office in San Francisco that has been built, and I remember that like we were tasked to work together with the real estate team. And well, we're technically not a real estate function, right? We don't usually work all the time with real estate. But the great part was that we could bring a really inclusive approach to that. It's we really wanted to craft inclusive persona on that. We were really thinking about all the different difficulties that people have while we were crafting the way we wanted to build that building. So we got having people about, I mean, no, thinking about the most well-known physical disabilities, whether they're temporary or they're permanent. So that's something that is always there, especially in real estate. It's a little bit more structured, as you can imagine, and you definitely know. There is then all the component of the other disabilities that you cannot see, everything related to audio, visual, right? And we went even further when we're considering aspect of like religion or mental health and all this kind of part. So I remember like many of our presentation and iteration were thinking about, okay, what happened if one day you have a bad news from your family because some of your beloved one like just passed away and you're in the office, because it happens, right? So a moment like that you are designing for inclusion. What happen, of course, if you are going maybe to a transformation, maybe you just went like to a change of gender, and how should you approach that in the way you can reflect yourself and use a common space even in the office, right? We know that we have like gender neutral like restroom, for example, but there is more. You might have like restrooms, right? You might have like locker rooms if you go to the gym, etc. So there is a lot of those different aspects that you can consider basically as you start opening the Pandora box of making sure that you get into all these difficulties. You can really get inspired a lot. So it was cool to really make sure that you can voice that out and make so many tangible example. And it was great because you could see some eyes opening and people are like, oh yeah, we never thought about that. And I'm like, yeah, but well, inclusive personas are not a mystery. It's just a matter of you have to do it. That's it.
It's what I'm hearing is just you're having so many important conversations and right conversations that in the past businesses didn't even think about talking about. And like the more you talk about it, it's like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Let's talk more about this. Let's keep going and keep asking more the right questions, the best questions to include everybody and make them wherever they're at in their journey, because you want them, your employers, your customers, to be a part of your business journey as well. So like there's again a lot of intersectionalities, but also just really making people feel like they can be at their best and be comfortable and be welcomed and be a part of it. So just that's so awesome. And so I also want to know like what your thoughts are. If you could like speak to any business, small, medium business in the world, why is it important to cater to people with disabilities?
We fun enough, I was having the same conversation with a group of people, Italian speaking people, like Italian people on Clubhouse a few days ago. And it's interesting because, I mean, Italy is completely different from the US, and there's way more small and medium businesses, as you can imagine. And I was literally mentioning like some of the conversation that we had in the recent past, right? And I said, look, even if you want to do this selfishly, as you said, even here in the US, 1/4 of like the adults are considered like people with some sort of disabilities or difficulties. And if you look at some of the number and research done even by all these tourism association, all these people want to travel. And we were talking about traveling like a little bit before. And these people are capable and they want to travel as much as people with no disabilities. So even for a country, and now I'm using the example of Italy because it's easier for me, like making sure that you are catering towards those people, that's a huge business rationale. Like the fact that you can have those people coming to your shop, that are coming to like the beach or everything, like where you're offering them a service. That's huge because those people are coming and those are high value customer. And if you can offer them something unique that, especially in the reality like Italy, accessibility is not easy to offer, you will have a completely new customer base that is coming to you. So even if you would just want to be selfish and be aware that like this is like a good reason to cater for people with disabilities, but it shouldn't be the main driver, of course. And making sure that that's the mentality that you should have in order to make everyone welcome at your business. I was using the example of a bank when someone was telling me, well, in that bank, you got the people coming from the front door. And then if you are in a wheelchair, you have to come from the back. They have to open the door for you, etc. And I'm like, how do you feel that person is going to feel that they have to come from the back door? Is a solution. Yes, I guess so. I mean, you're allowing that person to access the bank. But the point is, that's one main entrance. You should allow people to enter from the main entrance because that's the experience you want to give. So it's a combination of both, right? So I don't really want to be too selfish because I don't think it should be the main driver. I'm really an experienced person, so I think that's the mentality that you should start with. And I hope that answered your question. And I'm curious to know what you think about it.
That absolutely answered the question. And it hits to the point with the disability community doesn't have as many accessibility options in this world. And when a business does care about it enough to do something about it, those people have an experience, they have a good experience, and they come back again as repeat customers. Like the disability community has been recognized as the most brand loyal community when they're taken care of and they're treated right. And it's just smart business. But Federico, I love having conversations with you. I so enjoyed being on a panel with you the other week, and I'm very happy that I've been able to be able to spend time with you twice in a month. And just thank you so much for being our guest today. And you're awesome.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
All right, and so for all of our viewers, thank you for staying to the end. And until next time, everybody have a beautiful day.